Hi students, in our last class we have already completed alkanes from hydrocarbons and in today's class we will start another topic that is alkenes from same hydrocarbons topic. Okay, right. Let's define what are alkenes. Very simple. Alkenes are unsaturated aliphatic hydrocarbons which contains at least one carbon double bond. Repeat once again. Alkenes are aliphatic unsaturated hydrocarbons which contains at least one carbon double bond. Next, both double bonded carbon atoms definitely undergoes sp2 hybridization. Both double bonded carbon atoms undergoes sp2 hybridization. Next, alkanes general formula of alkanes is CnH2n. And here n is nothing but a number of carbon atoms, right? And alkenes are also called olefins. Another name, olefins. In Latin language, olefins means oil forming. Means the lower membered alkenes when they reacted with halogens, particularly chlorine, they'll form oily type products. That's it. Okay, once again we'll just revise what are alkenes. Alkenes are aliphatic unsaturated hydrocarbons which contains at least one carbon double bond. That's it. Next we'll discuss about isomerism in alkenes. See here, the isomerism in alkenes is quite similar to alkenes. How alkanes are showing like both structural as well as stereoisomerism, exactly our alkenes also shows both structural as well as stereoisomerism. In alkanes we have learned conformational isomerism. That conformational isomerism is a part and parcel of stereoisomerism only. Exactly, our alkenes also showing both structural isomerism as well as stereoisomerism. Let's discuss first about structural isomerism in alkenes. Right, structural isomerism in alkenes. Yeah, to exhibit isomerism, alkenes need minimum 4 carbon atoms in them. Means like 2 carbon atoms alkene, ethene, will not exhibit isomerism. 3 carbon atoms alkene, that is propene, also will not exhibit isomerism. That's why the minimum number of carbon atoms required to exhibit isomerism is 4. Means from butene onwards isomerism will be exhibited. That's why the very first alkene is butene which exhibits isomerism, right? And C4H8. Now I'll explain first structural isomerism, later we'll see stereoisomerism. Okay, right. I'll give you all possible structures of butene. First we'll do one thing. Total 4 carbon atoms are present. All 4 carbon atoms I'll arrange as a straight chain like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now alkenes means compulsory at least one double bond is required. That's why we will write a double bond. You can write a double bond at any place. You can write here, your wish. Okay, I'll write double bond here. And the remaining valencies will be fulfilled with, satisfied with hydrogen atoms. Here I'll write 2 hydrogens. Here I'll write 1 hydrogen, 2 hydrogens, 3 hydrogens. Let's check whether this compound is satisfying that formula or not. 1, 2, 3, 4. C4, 2, 3, 5, 8. Right. This compound is satisfying the given molecular formula. Next. And where the double bond is present, from there only will start the numbering. 1, 2, 3, 4. Its name is but1ene. Yeah, he is one of the isomer, one of the structural isomer. Next, again same 4 carbons only I'll arrange in the parent chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the next structure, what I am doing, I'll just change double bond place. Here a double bond is present at first carbon. In the next structure, I'll change double bond from first to second. I'll locate here. Then we can give numbering. Your wish, you can give numbering from left to right or right to left, doesn't matter. I'll give from left to right. Right to left also same, 1, 2. Left to right also 1, 2, doesn't matter. Next, remaining valencies will be satisfied with hydrogens. CH3, CH, CH, CH3. Let's check whether this compound is also satisfying the molecular formula or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, C4, 3, 4, 5 plus 3, 8. Yeah, this compound also satisfying the given molecular formula. Next, we'll write another form, another isomer. In another isomer, we'll do one thing. Instead of writing of 4 carbon atoms in the parent chain, we'll write only 3 carbon atoms. 1, 2, 3. Then what about 4th carbon? 4th carbon will arrange as a branch. Will write as a branch. Then don't write a branch here as well as here. The one and only possibility is that middle carbon. That's why the 4th carbon will write as a branch at middle carbon. Then alkene means definitely at least one double bond is needed. That's why that double bond you can write here or there. You can write anywhere. Okay, we'll write here. Then the remaining valencies will be satisfied with hydrogens. Therefore, we'll write here CH2. And this carbon 1, 2, 3, 4. Already 4 bonds are already present. That's why no need to write any hydrogen. And here CH3. Here again CH3. That's it. Now, we'll write its IUPAC name. Where the double bond is there, from that carbon only we'll start the numbering. 1, 2, 3. Its IUPAC name is, of course, it is a branch. Its IUPAC name is 2-methyl, 2-methyl, 2-methyl prop 1-ene, 2-methyl prop 1-ene. We'll write this name already. We have written but-1-ene and its name is but-2-ene. Like that, total 3 possible structural isomers are existed to this butene. We'll do one thing. Let write this as number 1 and this as number 2, this as number 3. Okay. All 3 are structural isomers, no doubt. But structural isomerism includes chain isomerism, positional isomerism, functional isomerism, metamerism as well as tautomerism. Okay. That's why the 3 structures, whether they are belonging to chain isomers or positional isomers or functional isomers, metamers or tautomers, let's check one by one. Okay. First, we'll take 1 and 2. This structure and this structure only will focus. Only 1 and 2 will compare. Let's see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 means both are having the same carbon atoms in the parent chain. Means they are not at all chain isomers. They are not at all chain isomers. Next, here position of the double bond is 1, here position of the double bond is 2. Therefore, definitely we can assume they are positional isomers. Because position is different. Positional isomers. 1 and 2 are surely positional isomers because the double bond position is different. Next, 1 and 3 will compare. Next, 1 and 3. See here, in the parent chain we will have 4 carbons. That's why its root word is but, but their parent chain is having only 3 carbons. Its root word is prop. Both are having a different parent chain. That's why definitely we can say they are chain isomers. Chain isomers. 1 and 3 are surely chain isomers. Then what about 2 and 3? 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are also surely chain isomers only because their parent chain is different. Chain isomers. Right. Okay. That's why the very first alkene which shows isomerism, that is a butene, all possible structures we have written. Again, in that also individually we have bifurcated. Like 1 and 2 are positional isomers, 1 and 3 as well as 2 and 3 are chain isomers. Right. Then after completion of butene, the next alkene is pentene, C5H10. Next alkene is pentene. Then all pentene possible structures you have to write. You have to think and you have to write. Okay. Right. Next, after completion of structural isomers, structural isomerism will enter into stereoisomerism. Okay. Now we'll discuss about stereoisomerism, in particularly alkenes. Stereoisomerism. Yeah. As far as alkenes are concerned, then they will show one of the stereoisomerism, that is geometrical isomerism. Now we'll write again another heading, that is a geometrical isomerism. Geometrical isomerism. Yeah, means alkenes shows geometrical isomerism. Let's discuss what are geometrical isomers. I mean, how to explain geometrical isomerism. For that purpose, I'll give you one particular example. Okay, first we'll take one example, we'll understand the example, later we'll define what is exact definition of geometrical isomerism. Okay, for that purpose, I'll give you one suitable example, that is a CH3, CH double bond, CH, CH3. Okay, its IUPAC name is 1, 2, 3, 4, butyene. Butyene, right. We'll take a butyene and we'll discuss geometrical isomerism. For that purpose, we'll do one thing. Where a double bond is there, that double bonded carbons, I'll write here first. Carbon double bond I'll write here in the first structure, and carbon double bond again I am writing in the second structure, because geometrical isomers includes two. What are those two? Let's discuss now. Okay, right. Now in the butyene, then this double bonded carbon is having one methyl group and one hydrogen. That's why then this double bonded carbon atom I'll write one methyl group I'll write here, as well as one hydrogen I'll write here. And again another double bonded carbon also having the same hydrogen as well as a methyl group. Exactly, here also we'll write a methyl as well as hydrogen. That's it. It is also butyene only, no doubt. It is also butyene only. Come here. In the second possible structure, we'll write like this. On first carbon, methyl and hydrogen are there. Here also I am copying same CH3 as well as hydrogen, no doubt. Same groups have written here. Next, second carbon also having methyl and hydrogen. That's why in the second structure, on second carbon, same methyl and hydrogen only I'll write, no doubt. But I'll change their places. Means hydrogen I'll write here, methyl I'll write here. That's it. Okay, let's check whether both are having a same molecular formula or not. Yes, both are having the same molecular formula, as well as the same structural formula. Why we are telling the same structural formula? Because both are having a same IUPAC name. Its IUPAC name is a butyene. Its IUPAC name also butyene only. Let's check then. CH3, CH, double bond, CH, CH3, butyene, no doubt. Both are having the same IUPAC name. Means compounds are having same molecular formula as well as the structural formula. Then question arises, what is the difference? Isomerism is compulsory, something should be different. Here what is different? Let's see now. Okay, first then this double bonded carbon, then which groups are attached? Means here methyl, hydrogen. In the first structure, see carefully, both methyl groups, both similar groups are placed at one side of the double bond. And of course, both similar hydrogens also placed at one side of the one side of the double bond. In the second structure, both similar groups are placed on opposite side of the double bond. That's it. Here both methyl groups are placed at one side of the double bond. Here both methyl groups are placed on opposite side of the double bond. Okay, right. Means and both are having the same molecular formula as well as the structural formula. Then what is the difference? Difference is spatial arrangement. Spatial, of course it is not a special, it is a spatial, nothing but a three-dimensional arrangement is different. Okay, means here both methyl groups are written at one side, here both methyl groups are written at opposite side of the double bond. Means spatial arrangement of atoms or groups are different. Why they are different? See here carefully. See, my question is first, whether structure 1 is possible to convert into structure 2. Let's check now. Just imagine here, if you see, if you take suppose single bond, just for instant, let it is a single bond. If it is a single bond, if you rotate this second carbon, if you rotate like this, hydrogen will come here, methyl will come here, you will get that structure. But unfortunately, here we are having a double bond, here we are having a double bond, here we are having a double bond. Then if a double bond is placed, then second carbon if you rotate, rotation is just impossible. I'll show here ball stick model. See here carefully. This is one carbon, this is one carbon. Both black colored balls will be considered as carbon carbon, and carbon carbon will have a double bond. This is one hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. It is of course ethene. Let ethene molecule. Now what I am doing, this left side carbon means whatever the ball I hold on my left hand, it is one carbon, it is another carbon. One carbon I am keeping fixed, and other carbon I am trying to rotate. Second carbon I am trying to rotate, but because of double bond, rotation has restricted. Rotation is impossible. See here, one carbon I am keeping constant, other carbon I am just trying to rotate. I am trying to rotate, but a rotation is impossible. That's why this structure cannot convert into that structure, as well as that structure is not possible to this structure due to restricted rotation. Due to restricted rotation across the double bond. Due to restricted rotation across the double bond, this phenomena only called as geometrical isomerism. Let's define now. The compounds are having the same molecular formula and structural formula, but differ in the spatial arrangement of atoms. Spatial arrangement of atoms or groups due to restricted rotation across carbon-carbon double bond. That's it. I'll repeat once again. Compounds are having same molecular formula and structural formula, but differ in the spatial arrangement of atoms or groups due to restricted rotation across carbon-carbon double bond are called geometrical isomers, and the phenomena is called as geometrical isomerism. Means because of restricted rotation, we are getting two different forms. This form is different, that form is different. Here both methyl groups are at one side of the double bond. That's why this form is called cis form. Here both methyl groups, both similar groups are at opposite side. That's why this form is called as a trans form. Okay. That's why this geometrical isomerism is also called as cis-trans isomerism. It's another name, cis-trans isomerism. Next, we will write its complete IUPAC name, because it is nothing but a butadiene. That's why its complete name is cis-butadiene. Cis-butadiene, and its complete name is trans-butadiene. Okay, right. Cis-butadiene as well as trans-butadiene are not interconvertible. They are not interconvertible due to restricted rotation across carbon-carbon double bond. Once again, let's define geometrical isomerism. Compounds are having same molecular formula and structural formula, but they differ in the but they are having a differ in the spatial arrangement of atoms or groups due to restricted rotation across carbon-carbon double bond. That's it. And one form is called cis form, and one form is called as a trans form. Okay. Next, and that's why this geometrical isomerism is also called as cis-trans isomerism. Say it is example 1. Let's take one more example for geometrical isomerism. I am giving here one more example to explain geometrical isomerism. CHCl double bond CHCl. First, let's write its IUPAC name. What is its IUPAC name? Means 1,2 dichloro, 1,2 dichloro ethene, 1,2 dichloro ethene. Right. First, we will focus carbon-carbon double bond. One is for cis purpose, one is for trans purpose. Now, this carbon is having one hydrogen, one chlorine. One chlorine will write here, one hydrogen will write here. This carbon is also having hydrogen as well as chlorine, chlorine as well as hydrogen. Now, this carbon same. First carbon groups will keep as it is, Cl and H. and second carbon groups will be interchanged. Hydrogen will write here, chlorine will write here. Okay, and both are having the same molecular formula as well as the structural formula. But what is the difference? Difference is spatial arrangement of atoms are different. Spatial arrangement of atoms are different. Okay, here chlorine chlorine both are at one side, here chlorine chlorine are opposite side to each other. That's why its name is a cis form. It is a trans form. Its complete name is a cis 1,2 dichloroethene. Its complete name is trans 1,2 dichloroethene. Okay, cis form cannot be converted into trans form, as well as a trans form cannot be converted into cis form due to restricted rotation across carbon carbon double bond. Right, it is example 2, example 1 as well as example 2. If you want, you can write one general example also. General compound I'll write here. What is a general compound? Carbon carbon double bond, carbon carbon double bond. Then this carbon I'll write X. Here I am writing Y. X is one group as well as Y is another group. Here also I'll write X as well as Y. In the second structure, same X Y I'll write same. But second carbon Y, X and Y will interchange. Here I'll write Y, here I'll write X. That's it. Here both X groups as well as both Y groups are at same side of the double bond. That's why it is a truly cis form. Here X as well as Y are opposite side of the double bond. That's why it is truly trans form. One is a cis form, one is a trans form. Why they are getting means due to restricted rotation across carbon carbon double bond. That's it. These are the geometrical isomers in alkenes. Okay, how to define them? Compounds are having same molecular formula and structural formula, but they differ in the spatial arrangement of atoms or groups, okay, across the double bond due to its restricted rotation. That's it. Okay, then some general points will discuss regarding this geometrical isomerism. Some general points. First point in geometrical isomerism. Okay, for that purpose, let's take that example. That examples will take, or this example also you can take, your wish, any example. I am taking that example. Yeah, same, I just copied here. What is the first point regarding the geometrical isomerism? Means cis form, trans form. If you compare both polarities if you compare, let's see what happens. Carbon chlorine, when we are comparing to each other, chlorine is more electronegativity. That's why the bond moment is towards chlorine side. Here also towards chlorine side, bond moment, nothing but it's a dipole moment. Then one is this direction, one is this direction. That's why then the net direction is having like this. Then resultant direction is like this. Means here dipole moments are not cancelled to each other. Means mu not equal to 0. Dipole moment is there. Dipole moment is there. Remember, if a dipole moment is there, definitely that molecule is a polar molecule. Means polarity is there. Poles are there. Poles are there. That's why it is a polar molecule. It is polar. Always remember, cis molecule is a polar molecule because here dipole moments are still existed. Come here in case of trans. Again, carbon chlorine, the bond moment is towards chlorine. Here also the bond moment is towards chlorine. Bond moment direction is towards chlorine. Regarding this bond moment, etc., we have learned already in the chemical bonding lesson. Please go through that chemical bonding dipole moment once again. Okay, right. Now, if you observe this molecule, one bond moment is opposite direction, one bond moment is downward direction. One is upward direction, one is downward direction. One is upward, one is downward. Definitely, resultant dipole moment will be 0. Why? Both bond moments will be cancelled to each other. Both are opposite direction. When both are opposite direction, definitely bond moment will be 0. Overall, dipole moment is 0. If a dipole moment is 0, then we can say it is non-polar. No poles. Poles are cancelled. It is a non-polar molecule. It is a polar molecule, it is a non-polar molecule. Right. Next, being a polar molecule, remember, being a polar molecule, cis form is having a more boiling point than a trans form. Being polarity, cis form is having a more boiling point than trans form. Why cis form is having a more boiling point? Because of polarity, what happened? Intermolecular attraction forces are more. Intermolecular attraction forces are strong. Because of strong intermolecular attraction forces, boiling point of cis form is more than trans form. Next point, see carefully. As far as the trans form is concerned, see here, one chlorine is here, one hydrogen is here. Means trans form is having a perfect symmetrical crystal structure. Transform is having a perfect symmetrical crystal structure. Because of perfect symmetrical crystal structure, its melting point is more than cis form. See, both are opposite. As far as cis form is concerned, boiling point is more. As far as a trans form is concerned, melting point is more. Why its boiling point is more? Because of polarity, intermolecular attractions are more. That's why its boiling point is more. Why its melting point is more? Because of perfect symmetrical crystal structure, its melting point is more. That's it. These are some of the points regarding cis form as well as trans form. This is about geometrical isomerism. Means both structural isomerism as well as the stereoisomerism in alkenes we have completed. After completion of isomerism, then we'll enter into preparations of alkenes. After completion of preparations, then we'll discuss about properties. Okay, let's start preparations of alkenes. Right, preparations of alkenes. Yeah, we'll have different preparation methods are there. Let's discuss one by one. Yeah. See, before we'll going to discuss the preparation of alkenes, once we'll recall regarding geometrical isomerism, we'll just discuss about conditions for geometrical isomerism. What are the conditions? Means condition number 1 already we have discussed it. Compulsory there should be a carbon-carbon double bond. To exhibit geometrical isomerism, there should be a double bond, carbon-carbon double bond. And second condition is both double bonded carbon atoms should have different substituents on them. Means suppose if it is X, it should be Y. If it is X, it should be Y. Different substituents, different groups should present. Condition number 1 is there should be a double bond. Condition number 2, both the double bonded carbon atoms must and should have different substituents on them. Suppose if they are same X, it is also X. Suppose Y, no more geometrical isomerism. We will have two conditions in geometrical isomerism. Of course, this is also important question only. Write conditions for geometrical isomerism. Means first condition, there should be a double bond between carbon-carbon. And second condition, both double bonded carbon atoms must and should have two different substituents on them. That's it. Okay. Right. We'll continue preparations of alkenes. First preparation. Number 1, from alkynes. Yeah. Let's see now. Alkyne is nothing but carbon-carbon triple bond. Now our target is a triple bond should convert it to double bond. Triple bond should convert it to double bond. Generally we will think how triple bond is converted into double bond. Very simple. If you add hydrogen molecule, one hydrogen will add here, one hydrogen will add here. Triple bond converted to double bond. That's it. When alkynes are added with hydrogen, you will get a corresponding alkene. That's it. Let's see now. I'll give you first one general alkyne. General alkyne is like this. R C triple bond C R. It is one general alkyne. Because here what is R? What is R? We don't know. It is general alkyne. Now my target is this alkyne we are adding with hydrogen. When alkynes are added with hydrogen, definitely you will get alkenes. But the thing is, we will have here two possible reactions. What are those two possible reactions? Let's see carefully. Alkyne is adding with hydrogen. Now, in the presence of one reagent, you will get one alkene. In the presence of another reagent, you will get another alkene. Let's see now. First reagent is palladium supported over calcium carbonate. Palladium supported over calcium carbonate, which is deactivated with quinoline. Which is deactivated, poisoned with quinoline. This entire reagent is called Lindlar's reagent. Lindlar's catalyst or Lindlar's reagent. Lindlar's. Okay. When alkyne is added with hydrogen in the presence of Lindlar's catalyst, what happen means one hydrogen is adding here, one hydrogen is adding here. The obtained structure is carbon-carbon double bond RH. Triple bond converted to double bond, no doubt. Alkyne converted to alkene, but which alkene is obtained is question mark. See here both similar groups are present at one side of the double bond. Surely, definitely it is cis alkene. No doubt, it is cis alkene. Means when alkyne is added with hydrogen in the presence of Lindlar's catalyst, the obtained alkene is cis. What is Lindlar's catalyst? Palladium supported over calcium carbonate, which is deactivated with quinoline, is called a Lindlar's catalyst. We will get a cis alkene. And one more possibility is there, that is same alkyne is added with hydrogen in the presence of sodium in liquid ammonia. Sodium in liquid ammonia. Instead of sodium, you can take a lithium also. Lithium in liquid ammonia, sodium in liquid ammonia. This reagent is called with one name, that is called Birch reagent. Birch reagent, Birch catalyst, Birch reagent, of course. In this case also you will get alkene only, no doubt. Carbon-carbon double bond RH. See here both alkyl groups are opposite to the double bond. That's why it is called trans-alkene. Trans-alkene, that's it. This you have to remember. When we are getting a cis-alkene, when we are getting a trans-alkene. In the presence of Lindlar's catalyst, we are getting a cis-alkene. In the presence of a Birch reagent, we are getting a trans-alkene. But overall, both are alkenes only. When alkyne is added with hydrogen, definitely you will get alkenes only. But in one situation we are getting a cis-alkene, in another situation we are getting a trans-alkene. Both situations you must remember. This is general reaction. Now we will take its corresponding example. We will do one thing. Here only I am changing. Wherever R is there, I will write a methyl CH3, CH3 if I write. It is example now. It is having its own particular name. What is its name? 1, 2, 3, 4. Its name is a but2-ine. But2-ine. When but2-ine is added with hydrogen in the presence of Lindlar's catalyst, what happens? Means wherever R is there you just write a methyl group, that's it. CH3 over. And its name is, it is a surely, truly cis structure only, and its IUPAC name is cis but2-ene. Cis but2-ene. Definitely it is a but2-ene only. It is a cis form. See, but2-ine converted to but2-ene, but2-ine converted to but2-ene by the addition of hydrogen. Then if it is a Birch reagent, sodium in the presence of liquid ammonia, again wherever R is there, you just write a methyl group CH3, that's it. It is also but2-ene only, but that is trans but2-ene. It is trans but2-ene, that's it. One is a cis-butadiene, one is a trans-butadiene. If you take a butadiene, we'll get a butadiene. This is first preparation method of alkenes. What is a source? Source is alkyne. When alkynes are added with hydrogen in the presence of a catalyst, you will get a corresponding alkene. If it is a Lindlar's catalyst, you will get a cis-alkene. If it is a Birch reagent, you will get a trans-alkene. Both general reaction as well as example, both we have discussed. Okay, you just practice properly, and you have to remember when we are getting cis form, when we are getting a trans form. Okay, right. We'll go to second preparation method. Second preparation method, which is again very important preparation method, that is from alkyl halides. From alkyl halides, right. How alkyl halides are converted into alkenes? Let's see now. From alkyl halides. Yeah. First, let's see what is alkyl halide. I am giving the general symbol of alkyl halide is RX. RX is alkyl halide. Right. How RX is converted into alkene? How RX is converted into alkene? Let's discuss with first one example, because this reaction better will understand with example. After completion of example, later we'll write general reaction. Okay. First I'll give you example. Like CH3 CH2 Br. It is one alkyl halide. Its IUPAC name is ethyl bromide. Ethyl bromide, and its common name is ethyl bromide, and its IUPAC name is bromoethane. Bromoethane. We'll do one thing. Just for convenient purpose, my convenient purpose, what I am doing here, one of the hydrogen I am separating like this. There is no difference. It is also ethyl bromide only. It is also bromoethane only. No difference at all. Just for my convenient purpose, one of the hydrogen I have separated like this. And this ethyl bromide we are heating with alcoholic potassium hydroxide. This alcoholic potassium hydroxide is also called alcoholic potash. KOH is also called potash. When it is reacted with the alcoholic potassium hydroxide, here thing is D is nothing but elimination. Dehydrohalogenation. Dehydrohalogenation means one hydrogen, one halogen, one hydrogen, one halogen will be eliminated. How hydrogen and halogen are eliminated? Let's see now. Potassium is removing bromine. Potassium is removing bromine. And whatever the OH is there, that OH is removing hydrogen. Let's say byproducts, we'll write first KBr. KBr is one of the byproduct, plus another byproduct is OH and H, water. Okay, right. Means here hydrogen, halogen, hydrogen, halogen, hydrogen, halogen are eliminated. That's why this method is called dehydrohalogenation. One more important point is, of course, potassium is removing bromine. Bromine attached carbon. Bromine attached carbon is also having hydrogen. Bromine attached carbon is also having hydrogen. But the thing is, our OH is not removing from hydrogen from this carbon. Or once again, OH is not removing this hydrogen. OH is not removing this hydrogen. OH is removing this hydrogen. That's why this method is also called beta elimination. Beta elimination. Let's understand what is the meaning of beta elimination. Very simple. Halogen attached carbon is alpha carbon, and adjacent carbon is always beta carbon. Suppose one more adjacent carbon is gamma carbon. Okay. Here the halogen attached carbon is alpha carbon, next carbon is beta carbon. What is meaning of beta elimination? Means always hydrogen should be eliminated from beta carbon. Remember, always hydrogen should be eliminated from beta carbon only, not from alpha carbon. Alpha carbon only halogen will be eliminated, but hydrogen will be eliminated definitely from beta carbon only. Okay, that's why this is called beta elimination. Because of beta elimination only, this bond, both the bonds are breaking. You will get a carbon-carbon double bond. You will get ethene. That's it. Ethene is obtained. Ethyl bromide is converted into ethene. Ethyl bromide is converted into ethene. Okay. Here what happened? hydrohalogenation is taking place. Hydrogen, halogen both are eliminated. That too beta elimination is taking place. Means hydrogen from beta carbon only will be eliminated, but not from alpha carbon. Right. By seeing this example, we can write a general reaction. General reaction purpose will do like this. Here one hydrogen I am separating just for my convenient purpose. This is one hydrogen. It is also ethyl bromide, no doubt. Now, while writing general reaction, whatever the hydrogen is there, in place of hydrogen I will write R. This R may be hydrogen or alkyl, doesn't matter. Yeah. Remaining I will write as it is, copy. CH, H, again CH2, instead of bromine I will write X. X is general halogen. It may be bromine, chlorine, anyone. Reacting with the alcoholic KOH. Halogen attached carbon is of course alpha carbon. Next carbon is beta carbon. And potassium is removing a halogen. And OH is removing a beta hydrogen. Then this bond, both the bonds are breaking, means you will get double bond here. Therefore, you will get R, single bond, CH double bond, CH2 plus KX and water. That is nothing but alkene. Of course, it is ethene. That's it. It is example, it is general reaction. Example, general reaction. Okay. That's why second method, in second method, we are getting alkenes from alkyl halides by just reacting with alcoholic potassium hydroxide. Right. In the first example, we are not facing any problem. But I will give you one more example. In one more example, in second example, let's see what problem arises. Okay. I will give you second example. It is example number 1, of course. Second example we will take CH3, CH, Br, CH2, CH3. It is another example. It is also alkyl halide and its IUPAC name is 1, 2, 3, 4. Its IUPAC name is 2-bromo-butane is its IUPAC name. Right. 2-bromo-butane. It is also alkyl halide. How 2-bromo-butane is converted into its corresponding alkene? Let's discuss now. This compound also reacting with alcoholic potassium hydroxide. Yeah. Here also we will do one thing. What we are doing? Halogen attached carbon is always alpha carbon, no doubt. Halogen attached carbon is alpha carbon. Halogen attached carbon is alpha carbon. Even though its position is middle. Even though its position is the middle of the chain. But its name is alpha carbon. It is alpha carbon only. Next, adjacent carbon is a beta carbon. Adjacent carbon is beta carbon. But the problem is, this is also adjacent carbon. To this carbon, both are adjacent only. That's why this is also beta carbon only. And this beta carbon is also having hydrogens. This beta carbon also having hydrogens. Means total how many beta hydrogens are there? Means here 3 hydrogens, here 2 hydrogens. Total 5 beta hydrogens are there. Means to this alpha carbon, this is beta carbon and this is also beta carbon. We will do one thing. Here one hydrogen I am separating just for my convenient purpose. Here also one hydrogen I am separating. Okay. This is also beta hydrogen. This is also beta hydrogen. We'll do one thing. This beta hydrogen let give number 1. This beta hydrogen let give number 2. Okay. Then the thing is, any beta halogen can eliminate. Because, any beta hydrogen can eliminate because our target is halogen should eliminate. Along with halogen, one of the beta hydrogen we have to eliminate. We'll do one thing. First, this beta hydrogen I'll eliminate. Let's say that is beta hydrogen 1. Let's say one related product I'll write. Beta hydrogen 1 related product I'll write. How? Means potassium is removing a bromine. OH is removing this hydrogen. Means this hydrogen and halogens are eliminated. Okay, na? This hydrogen, this halogens are eliminated. Then you will get double bond here. Therefore, one of the possible product I'll write. One of the possible product I'll write here. That is CH2 double bond CH. Now this hydrogen not eliminated. We'll write as CH2 only. CH2 CH3. Its name 1, 2, 3, 4. Its name is buta. 1ene is its name. That is possibility 1. Whether correct or not, we don't know. Just one of the possibility have written. Next we'll go to another possibility, because this is also beta hydrogen only. Next, possibility 2. Possibility 2. Suppose this bromine, these hydrogens are eliminated. Second beta hydrogen eliminated. Another beta hydrogen eliminated. We will write its corresponding product. Now this hydrogen not eliminated. You will write as it is CH3. Okay. Now this hydrogen, these bromines are eliminated, means you will get double bond here. CH double bond CH CH3. Its IUPAC name is but2ene. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. but2ene means in case of 2-bromobutane, when it is undergoing a dehydrohalogenation, we are getting a 2 possible products, 2 possible alkenes. Of course, it is alkene, it is also alkene, no doubt. But the question is, out of 2, which is major alkene, which is minor alkene, now we have to decide. Out of 2, only one is major, one is minor. Which is major, which is minor, how to decide is again question mark. I'll repeat once again. 2 we are getting, but 2 equal proportion will not get. One will get a more amount, one will get 90%, one will get a 95 nearly, one will get only 5-10%. Then which is major, which is minor, will decide with the help of one rule. That rule is called as, that rule name is called Sedgef's rule. Sedgef rule, or its another name is Zedsev rule. Zedsev rule, Sedgef rule or Zedsev rule. With the help of Sedgef or Zedsev rule, out of but1ene and but2ene, which is major, will decide. Right, very simple. According to Sedgef rule, which is major, how to decide means, first we will understand what is meant by highly substituted alkene. What is meant by highly substituted alkene, will try to understand. Okay, right. See, first alkene if you see, then this is a double bonded carbon, this is also double bonded carbon. Then this double bonded carbon is having only 2 hydrogens. And this double bonded carbon is having 1 hydrogen as well as 1 ethyl group. Yes or no? First double bonded carbon is having just after all hydrogens. Second double bonded carbon is having hydrogen as well as ethyl groups. Come here. In another possibility, then this double bonded carbon is having 1 methyl group as well as hydrogen. This double bonded carbon is also having 1 methyl group as well as hydrogen. What is the difference between these 2 alkenes? Means, in this alkene, both double bonded carbon atoms are having alkyl groups. Both double bonded carbons are having alkyl groups. But here, this double bonded carbon is not having alkyl group. Only this double bonded carbon is having alkyl groups. That's why whenever if you find both double bonded carbons are having alkyl groups, then that alkene is called highly substituted alkene. Highly substituted alkene. That's why this is highly substituted, but this is not highly substituted alkene. Remember, highly substituted means both double bonded carbons should have bulky alkyl groups. Then that is called as highly substituted. Right, according to Sedgef rule. Then when dehydrohalogenation of alkyl halide gives more than 1 alkene, in that highly substituted alkene is a major product. Highly substituted alkene is major and other one is minor product. It is major, that is minor, that's it. According to Sedgef rule, but2ene is major, but1ene is minor. Okay, that's why how to define Sedgef rule means, when alkyl halide undergoes a dehydrohalogenation with alcoholic KOH, then when more than 2 products are obtained, in that highly substituted alkene is a major product. That's it. This is about Sedgef rule or Zedsev rule. According to this rule, we have solved the problem, because here we are having 2 beta hydrogens. If this beta hydrogen eliminates, you will get that product. If this beta hydrogen eliminates, this product is obtained. Out of those two, which is major, which is minor, will be explained based on Sedgwick rule or Jetsev rule. According to Sedgwick rule, always highly substituted alkene is only major product. That's it. This is second method. What was the first method? First method means that is alkynes. We have converted alkynes into alkenes. Second method is from alkyl halides. Alkyl halide we have converted into alkenes with the help of alcoholic potassium hydroxide. Then we'll go to third preparation method. Number 3. Third preparation method is from vicinal dihalides. Vicinal dihalides. From vicinal dihalides, right. First we'll understand what are vicinal dihalides and how vicinal dihalides are converted into alkenes, okay. Yeah, we'll try to understand. Vicinal dihalide means suppose carbon one single bond. This carbon is having one halogen, this carbon also having one halogen. Means here both halogens are attached on adjacent carbon atoms. So both halogens are attached on adjacent carbon atoms. In general, we'll call it as vicinal dihalides. Vicinal dihalides. Its common name. Suppose carbon single bond. So both halogens are attached on same carbon atoms. Then this compound is called as geminal dihalide. It is geminal dihalide. That's it. Vicinal, geminal. Now we are using a vicinal dihalide, means this one. This compound, this vicinal dihalide, we have to convert it into carbon double bond, nothing but alkene. How vicinal dihalide is converted into alkene? Let's discuss clearly. Yeah, I'll take one example. CH2Br single bond CH2Br. It's IUPAC name. 1,2 dibromoethane. 1,2 dibromoethane. It's IUPAC name. This compound is reacting with the zinc metal. We are heating with, of course, the zinc metal. Then what happened? Zinc is eliminating both halogens like this. That's why this method is also called dehalogenation. D is nothing but elimination. Dehalogenation. Dehalogenation is taking place and obtained byproduct is ZnBr2. ZnBr2 is obtained as a byproduct. Now this bond, both the bonds are breaking. That's why you will get a carbon double bond. CH2 double bond, CH2 nothing but ethene is obtained. 1,2 dibromoethane by reaction with the zinc metal converted to ethene. Here halogens are eliminating. That's why this is also called dehalogenation. We will take another example. CH3, CHBr, CH2Br. 1, 2, 3. It's same. 1,2 dibromopropane. 1,2 dibromopropane also reacted with the zinc metal. Then a ZnBr2 eliminating zinc bromide because zinc valence is 2. Zinc bromide is eliminating. Then you will get here a double bond because both the bonds are breaking. You will get double bond. You will get a propene. That's it. Okay. 1,2 dibromoethane converted to ethene. 1,2 dibromopropane converted into propene. That's it. This is third preparation method. Once again, we'll recall what is the first method? From alkynes. Second method is from alkyl halides. Third method is from vicinal dihalides. And we'll have a last preparation method from fourth one. From alcohols. Yeah. How alcohols will be converted into our corresponding alkenes. Let's discuss now. Here also I will give you first one suitable example. Okay, right. CH2H, CH2OH. You know already. Its name is ethanol, ethyl alcohol. Ethanol is IUPAC name. Ethyl alcohol is common name. When this ethyl alcohol is heated in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid. See, concentrated sulfuric acid is having a major role. It is best dehydrating agent. It removes water. Exactly, our concentrated sulfuric acid also removing water from ethyl alcohol. And one more important thing is here temperature is also very crucial. You have to maintain exactly 170 degrees temperature. Suppose if you maintain 140 degrees temperature, you will get another product, not our required product. If you maintain at 100 to 110 degrees centigrade, again you will get one more different product. That's why our required product purpose. What is our required product? Our required product is alkene. Because our lesson is alkene, our topic is alkene. We have to prepare alkene. To prepare alkene, we should maintain exactly 170 degrees centigrade temperature only. And so when ethanol is heated in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid at 170 degrees centigrade, then OH and H both are eliminated as water. That's why this method is also called as dehydration. Dehydration means water elimination. Water elimination, dehydration, nothing but water elimination is taking place. Therefore, here both the bonds are breaking. You will get a carbon-carbon double bond. CH2 double bond CH2 ethene is obtained. That's it. When ethanol is heated in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid at 170 degrees centigrade, you will get a corresponding alkene, that is ethene. Again, by seeing this example, we can write general equation. For that purpose, here one hydrogen I am separating like this. Its corresponding general reaction I will write. In place of hydrogen I will write R. Remaining as it is, you can copy CH, H, single bond, CH2, H. Definitely, it is alcohol. It is in general alcohol, and this alcohol is again heated, same conditions, concentrated sulfuric acid at 170 degrees centigrade, HOH eliminating, you will get double bond here, or CH double bond CH2 plus H2O. This is alkene, that's it. This is fourth preparation method to alkenes. Total 4 methods we have learned. One is from alkynes, and second one is from alkyl halides, third one is from vicinal dihalides, and fourth one is from alcohols. Okay, all these preparation methods you have to practice maximum times, otherwise it is not possible to remember only. You just revise this video as possible as times. If you suppose not understood, you just revise as possible as times and try to understand. Okay, then from this preparations we have completed, then we'll enter into properties. Then in that properties we'll have physical properties as well as chemical properties. First let's finish physical properties. Physical properties of alkenes. Yeah, your advantage is physical properties of alkenes are almost similar to alkanes, because already alkanes physical properties we have learned. Here almost similar physical properties. First physical property is nothing but physical state. See here, alkenes up to 3 carbon atoms. Up to 3 carbon atoms alkenes are existed generally in gaseous state at room temperature. Alkenes up to 3 carbon atoms. Up to 3 carbon atoms means ethene, propene. Ethene, propene, they are existed in the gaseous state at room temperature, remember. Next from 4 to 14 carbon atoms. Up to 3 carbon atoms are in the gaseous state. From 4 to 14, up to 14 they are existed in the liquid state at room temperature. Next, above 14 carbon atoms related alkenes existed in the solid state at room temperature. That's it. This is about physical state. Up to 3 carbon atoms are gases. From 4 to 14 liquid state, and still higher like C20, C30, C50 they are exist in the solid state. This is about physical state. Next we'll discuss about solubility. Second one is solubility. Solubility is also quite similar to alkenes. Alkenes also being non-polar, they are not polar. Being non-polar, they are not soluble in water. They are soluble in organic solvents. Alkenes being non-polar, they are not soluble in water, but they are soluble in organic solvents. Why they are not soluble in water? Because water is a polar. Alkenes are non-polar. Water is a polar. Alkenes are non-polar. That's why alkenes are not soluble in water, but they are soluble in organic solvents only. Next, generally third point also same only, boiling point. Then boiling point generally directly proportional to molar mass. This already known to you. Boiling point directly proportional to molar mass. Next, generally N alkenes means normal chain alkenes are having more boiling point than branched chain alkenes. I'll repeat, normal alkenes like this, normal alkenes are having more boiling point than branched chain. Like if any branches are there, definitely its boiling point is somewhat reduced. The reason already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reason already we have discussed in alkanes, because if it is N normal chain, more surface area will be there. If more surface area will be there, more intermolecular attractions are there. If more intermolecular attractions are there, more is the boiling point. If branches are there, what happened? If a branch is there, definitely surface area decreases. Here surface area is more, but here surface area is less. If a surface area is less, definitely intermolecular attraction forces are decreases. Because of decreasing in the intermolecular attraction forces, boiling point decreases. That's why N alkenes are more boiling point than branched alkenes. Okay, this is about boiling point. Next point. Next point already we have discussed in geometrical isomerism. What is the next point? Means generally cis isomer is having more boiling point, but a trans isomer is having a more melting point. This already known to you. Cis isomer boiling point is more and trans isomer melting point is more, and already have given its authentic reason. Okay, right. These are the like some physical properties of alkenes. Okay, then we'll enter into chemical properties of alkene. Of course, chemical properties will be continued in our next class. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.